Jenga! You think you know it all? This is the ultimate guide on how to play with all the rules most guides leave out, what's really allowed, and what's definitely forbidden. Stick around for winning strategies, devious sabotages, and a unique two-player game that you'll only find here. Jenga is a simple game where the goal is to defy gravity and avoid being the person who crashes this wooden tower. In the official rules, the winner is the last player to make a valid placement, or in other words, the player who played just before the player who crashed it. Setup. In the official Jenga, you start with 54 blocks in alternating triplets forming a tower of 18 layers high. The player who formed the tower goes first and play continues clockwise. Playing. On your turn, you must remove one and only one block from the tower and carefully place it on the top row. If the tower doesn't collapse within 10 seconds after your placement, you're safe for that turn. And the next clockwise player's turn begins. If the next player touches the tower before the 10 seconds have elapsed, the previous player's turn is over and they're safe. If the tower collapses during a player's turn, which includes the 10 seconds after they've placed their block, they lose and have to reset the tower for the next game. End of gameplay. Who wins? Well, that's up to you. You can play whoever had the least overall losses over many rounds, or more officially, you can play that the last person to make a successful stack before the collapse is the winner. Or best of all, you can just play for fun and restack the tower after it falls. Now, the nitty-gritty rules. You can use one and only one hand at a time. You can use both hands, but never together. If you accidentally use both hands, your move is invalid, and you may need to reset the tower to its previous state. So a valid move would be to do this with one hand and place it to the top tower in an alternating way. I could also use one hand to take it out and then the next hand to continue the move, but it was a handoff. I didn't use both hands at the same time. What I cannot do is this. 2 fingers, different hands. That's an invalid move. You can't pull from the level below the top level. For example, I would not be able to take this block here because it's under an incomplete top level. If I did that, that would be an invalid move. I could take from this level and do that. Once this level is complete, then I can go underneath that level. You can only place blocks on the highest completed row. A row is considered complete when it has 3 blocks, so you can't start a new row until the previous one is finished. For example, there are only 2 blocks here. If I take another block, I can't put it like this, or this, or this. I must complete this level first, and now you can play on that. If a block falls off the tower while you're pulling the piece you want and doesn't destabilize the tower, that player can reposition the fallen block. You can put that piece back in with one hand, and if it doesn't knock the tower over, your turn is over, you're fine. You're allowed to tap and test blocks to see if they are loose, but once you begin to push a block out more than halfway, you're committed to that block and must use it. As soon as you tap it more than halfway, that's the block you came to the dance with. You better dance with it. When restacking, the placed block must be balanced flat. You can't leave blocks leaning off the side. If this happens accidentally, another player can insist you correct it. Correcting misalignment. Between turns, players are allowed to gently straighten or realign blocks that have shifted without removing them. It's my turn and I want the tower realigned. I can carefully realign. One hand only. If it's knocked over, you lose. Players not currently taking their turns cannot touch the tower or blocks. If the tower falls due to external factors like a fan or a pet, it's up to the house rules to decide if the last person to touch the tower loses, or if it's a no-fault situation and just replay. Or I play, if it's your pet, you lose. If the table or tower is accidentally bumped and causes the tower to collapse, the player who caused the accidental nudge loses. However, house rules or house vote prevails with this. If anyone in your group doesn't agree on these rules, take a vote and go with the majority. And if there's a tie, use playing games rules as your deciding vote. Positive strategies. Here are my top 5 strategies for becoming a Jenga champion. Start low. Focus on removing blocks from the lower section of the tower first. The higher you go, the more unstable the tower becomes. Target loose blocks. Gently tap on blocks to find the ones that are already loose. Even if you can, don't force out tighter blocks. There's a reason they're tight. They're holding up a lot of the tower. See? Avoid creating single column stacks that make the tower unstable. Those are single block. Just look at how unstable that is. Alternate block removal. Don't remove blocks from the same side consecutively. Keep alternating to distribute the tower's weight evenly. So as you can see, there are a lot of pieces missing here. Try to take some pieces from the other side. Keep it a little bit more stable. Use the 3 taps method. Lightly tap the blocks 3 times to test how loose they are. If they don't budge, move on to another block instead of forcing it. Negative strategies. Sometimes playing just for your turn isn't enough, and to win, you have to play with sabotage on your mind. All while staying within the rules, of course. Here are the 5 best negative strategies to sabotage your opponents in Jenga, setting them up for failure. Set up wobbly blocks. Intentionally remove blocks that cause slight imbalances in the tower. This will force your opponent to deal with a less stable structure. Target blocks at the base or in the center that bear a lot of weight. This makes the tower more unstable. Just be careful it doesn't backfire on you. Stack to one side. So on my turn, I can just nudge it a little and see that it's a little bit weaker on this side. So I'll take a piece off from that side, make it even weaker. And instead of putting it here to stabilize it or even in the middle, I'm gonna put it on the weak side there, keeping it even more wobbly for my opponent. Leave harder choices. Take blocks that leave the next player with few safe options. If a section is running low on easy blocks, make sure they're left to pick from the riskiest parts of the tower. Pull from lower levels. By pulling blocks from the lower sections and placing them on top, you create a tall, top-heavy tower that's much harder for your opponents to restabilize. Psychological pressure. Make comments like, "Are you sure that block is safe?" Or, "This looks risky," at key moments to make your opponents second guess their moves. But with all these rules, keep it friendly and read the room. Salty losers ensure that you won't get to play the next time. Now that you have the complete guide to Jenga, let me show you my favorite two-player version. 2 stacks. Divide the pieces into separate equal towers. Each player gets their own stack. We actually play this 2 different ways: speed solitaire and overall height. They're pretty self-explanatory and very fun ways to play since you're responsible for your own stack. With speed solitaire, you start a timer. 90 seconds or 2 minutes is pretty good. You both stack as high as you can before the timer's up. If your tower collapses within the time limit, you could restart, but you have to rebuild the tower from the base level. Same rules of regular Jenga apply, one hand only. At the end of the timer, whoever has the tallest tower wins. Time, 20 inches, 18.5 inches. With overall height, you both stack at your own pace. The game ends if one stack crashes or neither player can make a move, in which case the highest tower wins. Give our versions a try and let me know if you like them, or if you have your own unique house rules, or if you just want to say hi. Please share, subscribe, and like to help keep these going. You are great. See you next time on Playing Games. You don't even need other players for Jenga. It's always fun. Woo. There's no good move here. Jenga!